Welcome everyone to Where the Rubber Meets the Road. This is Cindy. It is September 23rd, 2024. And today I have a real world example of using these teachings. But as is my habit, which I enjoy, I'm going to begin with a song. And the song that we're going to play for those who are watching the replay is Leonard Cohen's Love Itself. And there are a couple things about the song before I play it. And I was playing it for a while on repeat this morning. It's an amazing thing to just watch it wash over you. Um, One of the things is it talks about an open door. We are an open door, so there's that. But the other is that I've noticed um, I was in conversation with somebody, actually the person who introduced me to the song, about the song, and also somebody I used to date ages ago, and they both didn't understand this line, and then love itself is gone. And I'm getting really quiet about that line again. But I'm resting in this understanding um, that when we become love and we know that everything is love, then it's no longer the word love. Oh, look at I am being loved, or look, I am loving, or look, that person loves that. That's no longer part of the conversation, right? It becomes sort of like people going around going, I'm breathing, I'm not breathing, I'm breathing, I'm not breathing. Love becomes that. And so that is my current understanding of that line. And it's very interesting to me when I been in some of these conversations with others where they wanted, I say, this is such a beautiful love song. And they're like, what do you mean? The song's talking about the end of love. And it's really not. So I'm gonna put us on pause, and we'll spend a few moments with Leonard Cohen, and I invite us all to just sort of let the song and the rhythm of the song sort of just embrace you. I remembered to turn the recorder back on. So I'd like to make this a working session. And so if there's something going on in your world right now that feels out of whack, that is creating an inner disturbance that you wish in any way, shape, or form was different, or you wish somebody else was different, or you wish your body was different, or you wish your life was different, or you wish that asshole would get a grip and start behaving differently. Just let it come up. Yeah, I got one, and I'll share it, because when I created all of it, like, I think I told Rana Friday or something, Friday or Saturday, we're doing the holiness lessons. I know I told Amy, right? And it was like, oh, I can't wait to see what you share. And until about an hour and a half ago, it was very open and neutral, and I was able to hold space, and different things were coming. And um, because it's one thing to talk about all this stuff when you're feeling fairly good, and it's another thing to stand still with it when your world gets rocked, right? And ultimately, it's putting these teachings to the test, no matter what is going on, that where things, and it's not, by the way, about um, making the worldly circumstance change as soon as we believe we're doing this. I know Amy and I have had a couple of these conversations recently. I feel like I'm doing this work so that they will change, or this circumstance will change, and that actually doesn't work, right? Because the Course in Miracles specifically teaches us that the world out there is really in various ways, it's a reflection of what we're believing. So as long as there's a belief that I am going to do this work so the world out there changes, we're actually bypassing where the only problem is, which is inside in the belief structure. Um, so you all don't have to share your specific circumstance, but if you want, you can. For me, about 10 to 10, I got a call from my daughter. Her car was stolen again. You guys have, well, most of you know, this will be the third time in less than a year. It's created a trend. Well, it's created a lot of opportunities for growth and learning and a lot of pain and a lot of belief and suffering and and we're getting really good at knowing what calls to make and where to go. So, but it's but in any case, she called me right before my dyad, and right, wrong, or indifferent, my insides contracted, physical pain. It's feeling like um feeling victimized, feeling like the world is unsafe, feeling like, oh me, why? She even said, she parked behind a different Kia Soul. She feels like she's been targeted. She had a lock on her tire. They brought something to cut the lock off the tire, so she's literally feeling victim like, and I am recognizing that if it had been anyone other than my daughter, I could hold space, but I wouldn't be feeling pain, right? So I see right away that there's a belief in my story, my life, my problems, all of that stuff. But ultimately there's a real physical pain here. It feels real. There's a real physical pain. I don't want anybody to feel for me because it really is just a story. It's an opportunity. So I'm going to read these notes, but I could tell you the holiness lessons. Each one of them seems separate, just like there feels like there's 365 separate lessons, and I don't feel to go through them. We do that on Tuesday mornings with training wheels and with Amy looking at the specifics. But here's the gift for me anyway. This came up, right? Right away, even though I'm feeling the pain. And instead of going into emergency triage, oh my God, I can't host my diet, I've got to do this, running around craziness, my system went into what a beautiful opportunity. I'm taking this opportunity to heal something inside because if my mind was wholly healed, this wouldn't upset me. If I didn't believe that in my story, if I didn't believe that we could be victimized, this wouldn't upset me, right? But what I did, because of all the work I'm preparing for today, throughout much of the dyad, there was that a running commentary here. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness blesses the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is my salvation. I accept my innocence. I accept the innocence of the world. When it comes to this circumstance with the stolen car, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Even as I'm saying these things, right? I want real life example, which is so gorgeous. I'm so happy to be able to say this. So I am declaring this as my right. The Cindy body is a little nauseous. It's dizzy. There's a feeling like there's someone once gave me this term granite mind. I could feel the granite, the feeling of rocks like in the body. And saying these things actually makes it feel a little worse. Like you're pouring salt on a wound. I like to look at it that way, right? Because salt on a wound will heal the wound while you're screaming in pain because salt is on the wound. So again, and there is The body is acting as if it's in trauma, acting as if it's being attacked. These lessons remind me that who I am in truth can never be attacked. So in many ways, we're hanging in the borderlands. The other thing that runs through my mind in moments like this, it's just very useful for me. It's all right, Cindy, you have a choice. Your entire life at this point is dedicated to these teachings. How many hours every day do I spend either reading them, contemplating them, teaching them, sharing them, talking to my friends about them? Probably 80% of my waking life. So either these teachings are true and I get to bring them to the problems like this, stolen cars, health problems with my friends, physical pain, lack of money, whatever it is, right? And stand still while the separate self is fighting me tooth and nail because resistance comes up. I do believe the Course uses the term something like vicious dogs. Like when we stand still in our holiness, the part of our system that insists my world is a problem to be solved, like gets upset. There's a disturbance. It feels really uncomfortable. It likes to justify why what's going on right now is the exception to the rule. Like, yeah. There's nothing my holiness cannot do, but my holiness is not going to recover my daughter's car. My holiness isn't going to pay for a new car. My holiness isn't going to make her feel less like literally, right? The thinking mind wants to make whatever's going on in our world right now the exception. But all of these teachings state that there are no exceptions. So the choice is really for all of us who are here, right? Either we accept these teachings and recognize that they will help us no matter what, with whatever's going on in our life. We got to let go of the timing of it, right? Infinite patience equates to immediate results. Something like that is the quote in the Course. Someone might know it. So it's not about changing the outer world. It's about changing our relationship to what's going on, right? So either these teachings have something to share with us no matter what is happening in our story, or I have to accept that I am a liar and a phony and a fake because I spend about 80% of my waking life studying these teachings, talking about these teachings, sharing these teachings with others, holding myself. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's literally an impossible circumstance is what's going on in this space right now. That the part inside that is having a massive fit, trying to literally kick me out of the holiness lessons because my daughter's car was just stolen and she's in crisis. And that's the exception to the rule, right? It's having a fit. But if I believe it, then I have to accept that I'm a phony and a fake and a liar. Where do you go with that? My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Holiness envelops everything I see. Holiness blesses the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Holiness is one of the greatest things about us doing this together is every tradition that we talk about here tells us the same thing, right? This is a phenomenal tool as far as I'm concerned. Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. I have a big exclamation mark here. So right now, this mind has been trained to problem solve. It had been trained from the day it was born that the world was real and that I am separate from it. And I have to learn how to get along in a crazy world, and A Course in Miracles is systematically, as well as the other teachings, whichever one you're attracted to, right? It systematically is teaching us another way to use the mind. These holiness lessons I love. They specifically say, practice as often as you remember. I love that line. I don't know if it says that there, but it literally says have these 3 to 5 minute practice sessions, 3 to 5 times a day, whatever it is, and then whenever something comes up. It's actually Joel Goldsmith's teachings. It's Regina's teachings. So many of the teachers that I love. When you notice an upset, that's when we get to practice these. Couple more notes, and then I'm holding it to the group. This is a course in mind training. That's what we're doing. So the next thing, right? I accept my innocence. And it's cool. I started listening to Helen Hamilton this morning. Thank you, Rana. Rana was the one that said, "Can we do Helen?" And I found this, and I loved that the first 30 minutes is as far as I got with the satsang for Thursday. She was literally saying, there is no such thing as someone you call awakened that hasn't gone through what you're going through now. And she also said, and it's working even when it doesn't feel like it's working. And she also said, just by the fact that you're here listening to me now, here now, means that you're committed and you're devoted. So it's working. So you are creating your freedom. You are rising in consciousness. It doesn't matter how it feels in this moment. That's very important that we get to show up and do the work and not analyze how well we're doing, right, Odds? Yeah. So the next thing on my list is we accept our innocence. If we're Course in Miracles students, over and over and over and over and over again, it's beautiful, it's loving, it's tender. We're reminded and we're asked to accept our innocence. So even though there's something here that says, if I had done something different with Emma, if I had a blah, 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 and I've heard it from so many of us, if only I had then, and I somehow feel really guilty that I'm not getting it yet, whatever. All of those thought processes that point to somehow we are guilty or we're wrong or we're not enough, we get to place them in the hands of the holiness lessons. It can't be true. As the Holy Son of God, I claim my innocence, and I claim yours as well. So along those lines, we recognize that it's the belief in guilt, not guilt, that creates the world of separation. I don't even know where I got that line from, but I love it. It's the belief somehow that I or somebody in my world, including those assholes who stole my daughter's car again, who targeted her, like, sorry, I digress. I claim the innocence. And it's the belief in guilt, not guilt, since guilt is part of the illusory world, not part of the world that's real. It's the belief in guilt that is creating the sense that I am guilty. And by the way, here's the other thing, which I really loved, um, it is the belief in guilt that builds up the blocks to love's presence. It was kind of cool looking at it. This is not a course to teach us how to love. This is a course that gives us the tools needed to let go of the blocks to love's presence. What happens if I claim my innocence and drop guilt? The more specific you are in applying these tools, these ideas, this is right out of the holiness lessons, the more effective they are. We're being invited in these lessons not to stay in generalities, but to stay in specifics. And actually, the more subtle the specifics are, if you get a little annoyed at your husband, it's the perfect opportunity My holiness blesses the world. My holiness blesses my husband in regards to the pain that is currently shooting in my left toe. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. We get really specific. Get really, really specific. Because there's no degree in miracles. There's a reverse, right? There's no degree in miracles. So it's the subtlest of irritations. It's the subtlest upsets that can keep this sense of me being separate from my holiness in place. So we take it all to these lessons. And then the last thing is the first, basically within the first lines of lesson 35. You will believe that you are a part of where you think you are. And again, we can choose where we think we are in any given moment. We can believe the story is that we're a victim of whatever the story is, or we're a victim of our belief structure. I don't know if you've ever caught that in you, but I've caught it in me. I'm not good enough to make these changes. I am a victim of the way I believe. Or I can say, what a great opportunity while it's all up and lit up for me to claim my innocence, to know that I am not these thoughts. I am the Holy Son of God. And my holiness blesses the world. My holiness blesses this body. My holiness blesses everything I see. And we practice it. And we practice it. And we stand still and we practice it. And we watch what happens while we practice it. And with that, I'm taking a breath. Looking forward to all the sharing, whatever you're inspired to say or share in this moment. I can't wait to hear it. Please, Barbie.
Yeah. Nice to be here. I know every time I do something wrong, I beat myself up because it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. So when I sprained my heel this past weekend, I thought it was my fault because I stood up wrong or whatever. And because I know I have weakened ankles, but it's not my fault. And so when I went to bed that night, Saturday night, I know the lessons work because I've practiced them before. But when you apply them, that's a different thing. Because when I went to bed, I couldn't find a comfortable position. I was back and forth, tossing and turning. And I mean, I didn't know what to do. I never felt this bad. And I don't know what a panic attack feels like, but I swear that's where I was heading. I mean, I was holding my breath, head, and I couldn't bear it. It was unbearable. So what I did, I took a couple of deep breaths and I kept on doing it until I settled down. And I rested in the feelings that I had because I do have tingling and numbness in my feet, but this, and I could deal with that. But this was like 3 or 4 fold, and I couldn't deal with it. So when I was able to settle down into a comfortable place after my breath, I was able to stay with the presence of my legs. And I don't know how long after that, because it all lasted around 45 minutes, something like that. But after that, it did work because I was able to fall asleep and I was fine during the night. But I know these lessons work, and with the help of me doing the lessons and calling upon God to help me through, I know I healed my body at that time. And I know sometimes I'm in silence and it's not complete silence because I have ringing in my ear, but that's sometimes silence to me because sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's not. But I learn to sit in my own silence and I heal myself. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
How's your foot today?
It's okay. It's getting better. I'm still using the cane because I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to stay in my jammies all week long and go shopping Friday. So I need some food in this house, but my husband's going whenever we need something to eat. So I have something, but my foot feels really good, but I'm not pressing my luck. My husband says, don't say it feels good because something's going to happen, which it usually does. But I'm taking it easy and enjoying, resting a lot more often than I should. I haven't been doing a lot of my emails like I should, but I'm just taking it one day at a time and healing my body. That's all I can do.
Well, I invite you to let go of that word should. That's all. Just
I know I
let
said it, but when did I say it?
you said it. Oh, at least Ozzy said you said it at least 3 or 4 times. Like
I don't
I
even
should be
remember.
doing, I should be doing, I should be doing. So
Okay,
just whatever it is in this present moment, do what you desire to do.
okay,
But if whenever this sense of, I should be doing that comes up, bring it to the holiness lessons or to whatever lesson. That's the other thing that was on my list that I didn't say. The holiness lessons aren't any more special than any other paragraph in A Course in Miracles, right? Or in any of the other teachings. Amy and I, especially, I don't know if anybody else ever hung out with Jim Self, and he taught me a couple of basic things. He taught me the idea that the tool belt, which I just love. And he said, all of these different things that we're learning, these different processes, they're just tools. We learn them really well. We learn how to use them and we put them in our tool belt. And then when something comes up, we become like a master carpenter and we just go to the tool that's most useful. We use a hammer to hammer in a nail. We use a plier to pull something out. So the holiness lessons are no more special than any of the others, and they're beautiful and they work. But so is just looking around and knowing nothing I see means anything. That'll work too, right? I'm never upset for the reason I think. Who is the I who's having this problem? I mean, we have so many tools. Right, Livy? So good to
thank
have
you.
you here.
Hey everybody, good morning. And interesting, I was gonna call Rana, our texter, and say, hey, are you available to talk Thursday morning? But we'll find a time to do that. But man, Barbie, I should all over myself all the time. So I definitely can relate to that. And what has been coming up with me the past couple of days was a conversation that I had with one of my sisters who is going to be moving in with her daughter in Mount Pleasant, not Mount Pleasant, in Charleston, South Carolina. And her daughter and she have a lot of unhealed issues and anger towards each other. And there's also my grandnephew, my niece's son, who will be 23 in December, who is recovering from a traumatic brain injury. And I was talking, and as a little bit of background, it's been a year it's been a year since I've had someone in my life to take care of. I was a caregiver at one time, but I have a history of caretaking and thinking that that's my responsibility. And so it's learning that it's okay. I don't have to jump into everybody's issue. And it's a new landscape for me to be in. And it's like, I don't have to jump into every crisis that happens. And my sister was sharing, because my niece, I've talked to her, it's very overwhelming for her to be his sole caretaker. She left him alone. She just needed a break. And he went outside and bought apparently a bunch of mixers, came home, got in the shower and fell several times. And so she got home and there were a lot of abrasions and bruises, and my sister's telling me this. And, you know, she is concerned about them moving in together. And is her niece going to think that she's the caretaker? And what came out of my mouth was, this is a conversation you need to be having with her. You know, these are the things you need to be talking to her about so that y'all can go ahead and start setting boundaries before you move in together. And she's planning to move the 12th and 13th of October. October is a busy month for me. And I feel myself getting a little verklempt. And so it's having a conversation in my mind. I'm seeing a conversation with her saying, what can I do to help you on this end? I will not be able to go down there that weekend. October is a very busy month for me. And to have that be okay. It's learning how to not feel like I have to save people in my family. And so the body, you know, like I'm getting a little verklempt, the body is not sure exactly, you know, I see a lot of pain in my family members, and it's letting that be okay, letting them have their experience. And it doesn't mean my heart doesn't break, which it does. And it doesn't mean that, you know, it's accepting other people's journeys and letting them be okay and not feeling like I have to jump in and do anything. And this is a very new way of being for me. So there is discomfort in the body. And I'm grateful today that I can, for this group in particular, the people that are here in particular who have given me that awareness. And it's so okay to just feel it and to let those feelings come through without attaching to them. It's just the body. And I have training wheels right now. So it's allowing that space to be okay. And it's interesting to recognize when they'll attach to something else, because I have it that there's must be a story. It can't just be okay to just sit with it and let it come through. And it's recognizing, oh, that's not even real. You're just trying to create a story, to attach it, to give it a meaning, if that makes sense. So I'm very, very grateful to have these lessons and to have y'all to show me how to ride all this with training wheels on. And if I fall down, it's okay. I can get back up and I don't have to do it by myself. So anyway, that's, it's very, you know, learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable is a practice for me, and allowing the discomfort to be there, and to allow, because the body's like, we've always, I don't know if it's the body or the mind, but it's like, this is new. You know, this isn't the usual MO, and is this okay? And so that's kind of, I'm not going to take up any more time, but just to yeah. So thank you for providing a safe space to share that. And I'm very, very grateful to be here with y'all. And look, yeah, so thank you.
Can I respond to a couple of things you said?
I would absolutely love that.
So the very first thing, and for those that know the Course in Miracles more than I do, please add to this. But this is what time is for. So when you said, I don't want to take up any more of your time with it, there was something in here that smiled, because there's actually no better use of time than to heal the unhealed mind. We could be going off trying to fix the world out there, or we could be focused on healing the unhealed mind. And that's what time is for. So I've noticed that a lot of us in these meetings tend to apologize for taking up too much time. And that's a habit we should break, right? Especially at an open, especially, but the purpose of an open door is for us to heal the one unhealed mind. And so we all contribute to that. Not one of us is more valuable than another in this room, period. And every story is the same story, which is the second thing I wanted to bring up before we send it to Otzi. One of the things that I noticed that was so valuable to me this morning is really this idea that it was Alma's car that was stolen. And so there's this pain here, right? Which created a contraction. And then I moved into a dyadic space and I was the host, but I was surrounded and I knew what other people's stories were. And I have a friend in that space that I spent time with whose twin sister just died within the last year. And I have other friends who have this kind of problem. I have other friends in this space who didn't have enough money. Like their stories are stories that I can hold without that contraction because they don't feel personal. Only I'm sitting in a space of recognizing that none of these stories are personal. So when you come with your story, we get to hold it in this space of seeing your holiness, which heals the beliefs that create your contraction for all of us. Because none of, as personal as these stories appear, as the more we say, I don't know how to do this. Well, you know what? None of us know how to heal our story by definition. If we did, we would, right? So we're all in the same place. We're all in the same place with that. So your strength and your courage and being able to say, man, I'm going to do this differently. I recognize that this is going to be uncomfortable to stand still and not go in and be the rescuer in a world where it's not my job to rescue another. I just want to wow, is that empowering? And it's so inspiring for me. And it's not just you that needs to learn that lesson. So mostly I just wanted to say I love you. Love you too, Otzi.
I love you, Rev Cindy. Thank you for having this space. And I'm deconstructing my space, as you can see behind me, because that's the best way to be for me right now. I can't believe it when Barbara was talking about her foot. Well, wouldn't it be something that I smashed my foot just the other day on the post, and as soon as it happened, it was like instant. It was this instant. I looked, I was like, oh, and I started to maybe think about it could be broken, not sure. But in that moment, I just was breathed. I had this breath happening because there wasn't any pain. And there really should have been pain. I don't know why there wasn't pain. And Barbara, when you said I healed myself in the past, there would be this arising come up of doubt. Doubt, that doesn't happen, and then the wall would come up and I'm separate from you. I'm separate. But today I am you. I'm you. We're the same. I did the same thing. The same thing is happening here up in Canada. I swear I broke this toe. I mean, there was something that looked like it was popping up. It was like purple all the way across and up, the purple. How does that go away in a day? How, like 48 hours? Like it's completely healed. And that's what I said, Barbara. In that moment, I was like, how can God, how can this isness break a toe? It can't. I didn't think that in the time, but it was just this whole thing. I just listened. I went in the hot tub that day that it happened, and I just had it in there, and I kind of was moving it. I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something with my fingers because apparently I'm being lived through. I don't know what the hell is going on here. And I feel so much safer than I ever have before because of the people that have come and surrounded me, like Cindy, Rana, all of you. I recognize all of you from places. I'm like, wait, where do I know? I know you. I remember you. Oh, there you are. There I am. It's so beautiful to have this experience of amness with everybody rather than this experience of I don't know if I believe you, I don't know if I believe in myself. Like it's just that I love it. I'm so happy, and yet I'm not happy because I also recognize when I go into that story too, it's still a story. It's just being here now. Being here now. So grateful to not be lost in this cavernous mind that goes off into some frickin' land making shit up. I'm just so happy for that. So thank you.
Is that
I
a
love
frog
you.
on your shirt? Yeah, oh, it's a face. The top of it. I see it now. It looked like a frog head, but I have frog on
I
the
know
brain.
you're the frog brain. I love you.
Love you. I love us. Hey, Amy.
I love Aussie's enthusiasm. That's really great. But I remember, Audsie, that when you're happy, it's your natural state. So it's not a story. It's not that happiness is the natural state. So don't throw that away, right? It's remembering what you are in truth, right? So you're not the bad stuff, but the good stuff, that is the real thing. So Cindy, once again, I think you've given us what we need this morning. And really appreciate your leadership, your spiritual leadership here so much. Coming off of COVID and just a week of, not feeling good in the body. I just want to share one thing. It's a quote that I'm actually looking at right now, and it's from Ramana Maharshi. And he says, "In my world, nothing ever goes wrong." And so in my good days, yeah, everybody goes, yeah. So I could go, yes, I know that's true. I am such a good girl. I know that's true. And I do know that that's true. But I have days where I'm going, oh, this is not a good day. I don't like this. I don't like that. And that's okay, Helen Hamilton, I'm loving Helen Hamilton. I'm where you are. Thank you, Rana, for suggesting that. She says it's a process. So don't and guilt is blaming and slows it down. Judgment slows it down. So if you're feeling like I'm having a bad day and I'm resisting it, I don't like this, don't judge yourself for it. That's That's a lesson that I have to learn over and over again, because we feel like, well, we're on this spiritual path and we should know better than that. And Cindy never gets upset. You know, her daughter's car gets stolen 3 times and she still can come right in here and center herself and say, what is my lesson here? How, right, and she does it so authentically and so intelligently and with such wisdom. And then she has the friggin' brains to come on and share it with all of us and give us the teaching. And it's like, yep. So in my world, nothing ever goes wrong, but sometimes this little person back here says, oh, yes, it does. And she's going to have her little fit and stamp her feet. So then I remember what Cindy says. And I love this. This is going to be my new, when it comes to this situation around blank, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. What a great investigation. What a great form of self-inquiry that is. So I'm going to have my hissy fit, but then I'm going to sit with that question and say, in this situation, when it comes to this situation around blah, 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 fill in the blank, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. And then just sit with inquiry around that. Is it true there's nothing my holiness can do? Is that true? What does it feel like when I think that's true? Do I have to know what the solution is in order to know my holiness and to be in my holiness? Can I be in my holiness and not know what to do? Can I be in my holiness and still feel that there's suffering here? Even though I know in my holiness that there's not, but can I be with the suffering that seems to arise right now? Can I allow it? Or do I have to be a good spiritual girl and say, oh,
I would have been disappointed if she hadn't frozen.
okay.
It happens every time your
That's the
vibration
Holy
gets
Spirit
high.
telling me, Amy, cut it off.
No, it's not. It's just your vibration gets higher than the internet channels, and it freezes for a moment. It's cool.
Oh God, I love you, Reverend Cindy.
I love you, my friend Amy. Shall we let Rana talk, you think? I want, yes. I can't believe you waited for permission.
Okay, so here's what's happening here. I don't even know where to begin, begin at the beginning. 3 a.m. this morning, I was laying on my back on the concrete because my shoulder blade and my ulnar nerve and my hands numb, and oh my God, will you cut my arm off? If somebody was just around to just chop it off at 3 in the morning, I would have allowed them to do that. And so I am you, I am Barbie, I am Oddsy, I am all of you. I will say that the experience of body pain is not something experienced very often. So there was a part of me this morning when I finally got comfortable and slept for about 40 minutes. And I got up and I was finding that sitting is the worst. If I move and keep moving, I'm okay. But I wanted to bag the whole day, right? But then there was something that said you can't get comfortable laying down anyway. So I noticed the grumbling. I noticed the lack of peace. Finally. And the question became, what am I thinking? And so this is what I was thinking. I have it written down. Let's see. Nothing will get accomplished. There will be pain consistently and chronically all day. There is no escape from this pain. Those are happy thoughts, aren't they? And once that got written down, I remembered what today's topic was, which was the holiness lessons. And what popped in my head was, my holiness blesses this arm. You know? The ego is like vicious dogs. And I like the phrase raucous shrieks, because that is what it sounded like. And by the time I got here to Cindy before this group started, it was like pouring salt on the wound. I went ahead and told her what was going on, and it all just, you know, and I even said to her, I'm not sharing today. Who said that? Not the true me. That was the false me. And so I know we're running short on time here, but everything that I experience can be used for healing. And as I sat here and listened to the people that I adore, that I get to spend time with, like on a daily basis now, talk about exactly where I'm at and give me more tools. And I also remembered the beating up of the self yesterday when I thought, you didn't do much truth today, whatever that means. And then I looked through my day and I sure as hell did. You know, it was just the ego mind trying to beat me up. And so it's still there. It's still the separation and the alone, and I can be in pain and I am this body, but it's not hidden today. I see it all, you know. And for the last 45 minutes sitting here, only a couple times have I felt a little ting. The pain is not chronic and consistent. It is not going to last forever, especially if I don't focus attention on it. So thank you for this teaching and for the living. I am being lived. I think that's why I laid on the concrete when Oddsy was talking, you know, my body is stretching and pushing and pulling and, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's all there to work it out. So thanks.
Off. All right. So it's funny, Amy. Ramana Maharshi said that. I want to read Sri Nisargadatta Maharaja's version of Nothing Ever Goes Wrong, because I have it here, and it's a good way to end the last 20 seconds of the talk. Yes, I appear to hear and see and talk and act, but to me it just happens, as to you digestion or perspiration happens. The body-mind machine looks after it, but leaves me out of it. Just as you do not need to worry about growing hair, so I need not worry about words and actions. They just happen and leave me unconcerned. For in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. Ah, man, I love us so much. And the thinking mind's going, oh yeah, I bet you never had a daughter whose car was stolen 3 times in a year. Not in his world. All right, let me stop the recording.